Okay. For those who are just coming in, there has been a lot going on in these streets called politics. Okay. In these streets, no matter what party you are, Democrat, Independent, Republican, American, Elon Musk party, heck, you can be anybody, long as you are the voice, right? Okay, long as you are the voice. Now, for those who are coming in, I want to just, give a heads up. Federal Appeals Court has said Friday President Donald Trump misused authority when he imposed tariffs under an emergency power statute. I'm going to keep it light. Going to keep it light. Why? You can hear these papers rambling. I have written books, okay? Books about what's been going on, but I'm going to keep it light, okay? Now, according to the Federal Appeals Court, okay, they stated a panel of 11 voted 7-11, ruled that only Congress has the power to apply tariffs. Okay, however, the judges did say that the tariffs can stay in place as the case continues, right? And shout out to Richard. Let me highlight that. I see you, Richard. Richard says, and hello. Richard says, free Chicago. I want to highlight that. I'm gonna, hey, Richard, where are you, Richard? Richard, you caught my eye. It's amazing when somebody can catch my eye in the chat. Richard said, free Chicago. And thank you guys for coming in. And that is another topic that I wanted to, talk about. Shout out to Richard Grissom. You caught my eye on that, wink, wink. Okay. When it comes down to free Chicago, right? Now, there has been so much chaos. Why do I want to say shout out to Richard? Because even when it comes down to President Trump deploying or wanting to deploy, right? He's been wanting to deploy National Guards. Yes, he did. He's been giving out those warnings, as they would say, giving out those warnings to deploy National Guards to Chicago. And for those who don't know, my prayers goes out to Chicago. Why? Because this was a wild West Labor Day weekend for the residents and citizens of Chicago, of Illinois. Why? Because according to reports, shout out to Chicago, sometimes they state that 9 people were unalive over the weekend. An additional 52 people were wounded over the weekend. You cannot make this up, ladies and gentlemen. But here we are as today, okay? You have an Illinois governor stating that the state of Illinois don't want Trump to come in at all, okay? You have a mayor of Chicago, shout out to Brandon Johnson, signed an executive order this Friday, okay? Stating that to anybody that works in the quote unquote his administration, as well as the government of Chicago, as they would say, anybody, you are not to follow the orders or instructions or do any form of contact, or should I say business with the National Guards, or listen to the federal, okay, that would possibly come in. So the Mayor Brandon Johnson, he's just signing this executive order as a just in case, okay? Because he said, you might have got the mayor of Washington, D.C., but you're not finna get me, as they would say. So, but my prayers goes out to what's been going on in Chicago, because at the end of the day, the residents of Chicago and the residents of Illinois, they are the ones that are, going to be the victims when it comes down to, the increase of unemployment, when it comes down to the high crime in the city of Chicago, right? So I want people to, let's just talk about it a little bit, just a little bit. Now, critics say Chicago has seen a decline, okay, 32% decline in homicides, and nearly 33% decline in robberies, and 36% decline in pops this year, okay, compared to 2020-24. And this is according to Chicago police data, right? But if that's the case, as they would say, if that is true as you say it is, then the bigger question is why so many people are disapproved of the job performance of both Brandon Johnson as well as the governor of Illinois, okay? When it comes down to the data, okay? Why are so many, not happy, okay, as far as the job performance? And according to the poll, 58% of Chicago residents disapprove of Mayor Johnson's job performance. Yeah, you heard it. 58%. 58%. 58% want Brandon Johnson to be in the same place as G Herbo. If you know, you know. If you don't, oh well. He's a rapper that is currently locked up with no bond. Okay, and Brandon Johnson. You know what? I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it. All I'm gonna say is this: when it comes down to, Chicago, residents feel that instead of addressing Chicago's budget issue, this is Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson, he wants to address, the budget issue. Oh, let's talk about it. How Chicago is currently facing a $1.15 billion budget gap by 2026. Oh, let's talk about it. And how is Brandon Johnson addressing this issue? He wants to raise Chicago taxes. That's what he wants to do. And, this is why I don't understand when it comes down to, why don't you want help? Why don't you want help the right way? Right? Why not? Okay. So thank you guys for coming in. Hit that like button. You're listening to Politic Ground. And moving along. We're going to talk about, I'm going to try to keep it short, but I don't know. We'll see. Because I talked about this early this morning. I'm tired. We're going to talk about Eric Adams. And one specific lady that I want to talk about is a lady by a lady by the name of Winnie Greco. Okay, Winnie, aka as in like Winnie the Pooh. Okay, because that's how she really tried a reporter in New York City. Okay, she thought that this reporter was Winnie the Pooh. Why? Because she tried to hand this reporter. Yes, she did. And Winnie Greco, that I'm calling, aka, Winnie. Okay, just Winnie. This made headlines. She is an associate, a former advisor to Eric Adams. Okay, she's a former advisor for the Asian community. He hired her to be an Asian liaison for the Asian community. According to the reports, Winnie actually, during the time of the grand opening of Eric Adams' new campaign office in Harlem, New York. Shout out to Harlem, New York. If you know, you know. Okay, right after the grand opening of his campaign office, Winnie, she saw a reporter that is affiliated and associated with the City.NYC media outlet. And she begged her, or should I say, approached her, asked her, let's go out, let's go to Whole Foods across the street. So they went across to Whole Foods, And Winnie actually got a bag of, according, yes, I cannot make this up, a bag of her sour cream onion chips and put a wad of cash in a bag of sour cream onion chips, unbeknown to the reporter by the name of Katie Honan. Okay, put some money in a bag of chips and handed it to her handed her the bag of chips crumbled up with a red envelope that had a lot of money. Now, why am I talking about this? Because Winnie, she is a former advisor to Eric Adams. And not only is she a former advisor, why do I say this? Because just last year, back in February, her quote unquote homes were raided. Yes, her homes were raided. Why? In regards to, remember when I said that Eric Adams corruption case that ended up getting dismissed by the DOJ? Yes, she was one of the quote unquote, I cannot make this up. And thank you guys for coming in. Interesting. If you guys can hear me, press 1. What's going on? What is going on? Now, like I stated, when it comes down to Winnie Greco, she has been having a lot of issues. And when I say a lot of issues, just last year, she had 2 homes raided. And because she had 2 homes raided, she ended up resigning back in October of last year. Okay? Resigning from her position with the first term, this current term, okay, of Eric Adams' administration, right? Now, after she resigned, that wasn't enough for Winnie, okay? She actually, and I cannot make this up, she actually now and currently is what was a campaign volunteer for Eric Adams. But after all this came out, Winnie has lawyered up, and according to reports, she is currently suspended from her role of volunteering for Eric Adams' campaign. Okay, so this is why I say what I say. Okay, if you are anywhere near Eric Adams right now, just know Eric Adams is the person, as you see in this quote unquote, and let me make sure I show it for you guys. Thank you guys for coming in. Eric is the same person that is holding up, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to show it to you guys. He's actually holding up this particular book. Okay? If you guys don't know, he's holding up this book that was written by Kash Patel called Government Gangsters. And for many people who don't know, when it comes down to this particular book has a lot of people names mentioned in it. As far as some people say, the quote unquote, the list, as they would say, it has people such as Lloyd Austin, former Secretary of Defense under President Biden. It also has, just going down, it has Joe Biden himself on the list. It has Hillary Clinton on the list, James Comey on the list, who's former FBI director of both the Obama administration and President Trump's first term administration before he fired him. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because when it comes down to this book, okay, Kash Patel, he spoke about the quote unquote, the truth, okay, the battle for our democracy and how it has been, corrupted, right? It has been corrupted. It has been mistreated. It has been everything in the book. And what did Eric Adams do recently? He holds this book written by Kash Patel called Government Gangsters and advising the New Yorkers, hey, vote for me. And if you don't understand how I got quote unquote set up, I want you to read the Government Gangsters book. Okay. And thank you guys for coming in. And yes, this is actually a book that Eric Adams himself is recommending. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but my thing is this. The streets are so hot for Eric Adams right now. I wouldn't want my name, my book, nowhere mentioned about him, because it seems like everything Eric Adams touches, he destroys. I'm serious. I've never seen. This is worse. I'm serious. I don't care what anybody says. This is my personal opinion. And people can sit there and question. And let me show this particular person. People can sit here and question. I want to make sure I show it. Where are you? Where are you? They can sit here and question the actions of this man right here, President Trump, all day, right? And I'm tired of people. I got to give a public service announcement, okay? For people that keep talking about this lady right here, this former stripper. I'm sorry, not stripper. Former, special performer at nighttime when you go online. I'll say it that way, Miss Stormy Daniels. Please don't tell me about Stormy Daniels no more anymore. Please, I don't need to. We know. Okay, we know of the Stormy Daniels trial when it comes down to Trump. Okay, we don't need to hear any more about Stormy Daniels. Okay, we know this. But what I would ask of the same people questioning President Trump having these 34 felonies, right? Well, not questioning, stating it. Yes, he was convicted of 34 felonies. Okay, but this is why I would stay away from Eric Adams. Okay, this is why. Okay, this man right here. This is why I would stay away from him. Why? Because the same person that was quote unquote successful in President Trump getting 34 felonies, right? Being found guilty of all 34 accounts. This gentleman right here, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, this is the same person that is coming for all of those associates, former cabinet workers of Eric Adams. Okay? This man right here. This is why I say, if I were you, and I'm going to name the people, Winnie Greco. Okay? If I were you, Winnie Greco, I'm gonna name these people. The most recent person that made headlines is Eric Adams' advisor, Ingrid-lewis Martin. If I was her, I would avoid Eric Adams, because according to reports, Ingrid-lewis Martin, she was indicted back in December of last year. That's when she resigned from her position. Not only back in December by this guy, she was also indicted recently last Thursday, again, with four separate indictments. Okay, so back in December, she received alleged seven indictments, and then last Thursday, she received additional 4 separate indictments. Okay, this is why I wouldn't deal with. I would not want to be seen or heard or even being in the same breath as Eric Adams, because Eric Adams, I'm going to tell you about him. He has stated, okay, he's showing this. I want to make sure I show this again. He's already telling people, I got Kash Patel on my side. I got President Trump on my side. I got Pam Bondi on my side. Why? Because the DOJ already had my corruption case dismissed. And as far as my quote unquote associates and cabinet members and former cabinet members of my administration, all I can say is, may God be on to you. So why would you want to be associated with somebody that's guilty by association? That's the main reason Eric Adams, a number of his cabinet members, Brianna Suggs, okay, She resigned. Okay, she ended up resigning. Another lady by the name of Rana Abasava, okay, who Eric Adams hired as the international affairs aide for the mayor administration of New York. She ended up, she's a very special one, that Rana, okay. She ended up having her home raided last year, and as soon as she ended up having her home raided, that's when she signed the deal to cooperate with this district attorney, Alvin Bragg, to quote unquote testify against Eric Adams. And what happened to her? She didn't resign. I'm gonna tell you what Eric Adams did. Eric Adams ended up terminating her. He ended up terminating her. Okay. Winnie, as in Winnie the Pooh, because that's what she, well, I'm not gonna do it. Winnie Greco, okay, who Eric Adams hired as to be the director of Asian affairs, okay. Po Child, she ends up trying to sneak a reporter a wad of cash in a red envelope placed in a sour cream onion chip bag in Whole Foods restaurant right across the street from Eric Adams' new campaign office. You can't make this up. Shout out to Harlem. Now, also, another reason why I would not want to be seen or heard near Eric Adams, and I'm saying this even to the Trump administration. I'm telling you right now, President Trump, I'm telling you right now, if all this doesn't go well, okay, if all this doesn't go as you planned, Eric Adams will do you the same way he has did everybody else, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, Eric Adams, he said he's not going to jail for nobody. He ain't going to prison for nobody. And he would, if he has to, okay, if he has to, he would probably testify against everybody that's in his cabinet office. Serious. And why do I say that? Because there are so many people, like I said, at least 20 people that have either had their homes raided, received indictments, have been terminated, or have resigned. Okay. And this is all what is going on. And thank you guys for coming in. Going back into the comments, I forgot one more person. There is another gentleman by the name of Brian Cardasco, who's a retired fire chief for the fire department of New York. Yes, I got to talk about him. He resigned back in October of last year after this man. Here we go. Here we go. I'm so serious. After the prosecutors, not him, not this one, it was another one. Okay. They quote unquote, okay, he pleaded guilty. He was found guilty. He was arrested and charged for tampering and the destruction of evidence in regards to Eric Adams' unlawful contributions in his 2020-21 campaign as mayor. Sounds familiar? Now, how did this affect Brian Cordasco, who is a retired chief of the fire department of New York? Okay, fast forward after resigning back in October of last year. No, he didn't resign. He was already retired. Think of another one. But after last year, when he pled guilty after being indicted last year, okay, because he was retired. Fast forward March of this year, after pleading guilty, he was sentenced 20 months of prison, 2 years of supervised probation, and ordered to pay $57,000 of the money that he had allegedly made as profit. And additionally, he is being fined $100,000. This is just one person that was affiliated and associated with Eric Adams. Imagine what's to come for the others. Oh, and I forgot about yes, shout out to Eric Adams' son, Jordan Adams. Um, People are trying to see if he's connected in any of this quote unquote bribery, corruption. Why? Because two of the defendants that were indicted last Thursday, okay, last Thursday, these two quote unquote individuals that own a film production company in New York. Their names are Gina Argento and Tony Argento. They have Eric Adams' son, Jordan Adams, working for them. If you guys don't see it, I don't know what to tell you. If you guys don't see the issue, I don't know what to tell you. And thank you guys for coming in. You're listening to Politic Graham. And yes, we're talking about this president right here, our president, our 47th president. And this particular picture